Hello and good day. Happy Thanksgiving Eve. You are joining the Comp Queen with Cassi DeHaas, that's me, for another one of our weekly episodes where I go live and comp properties and am a resource for the products and services that we use to comp properties nationwide. I'm excited to be here, about ready to be in holiday mode, get my turkey pants on, and spend time with my loved ones. Greetings and salutations, Mr. Hodges. It's good to see you on this fine day. Aloha. Happy Thanksgiving. It's so good to see you here 2 weeks in a row. I love it. Very excited to be here. Very excited to be comping for you live. Hopefully we don't have too many people that are already traveling for the holidays, and we get a solid amount of good viewers here submitting your comps. You can submit your comps live and watch me pull them live in the chats. Hello, Mr. Michael Hopkins, first-time viewer doing deals in different counties in Florida and looking to expand. I love it. We absolutely do several deals in Florida. Actually, I think we just closed one on Friday, maybe Monday. It's hard. The days start to run together. So if you've got anything you want to see live comped, even if it's just to verify your numbers, we're here for it. That's what I'm here for, to be a resource for you, showcase the products that we use. Again, go over basic principles of comping properties, things that I look for, and how we look for them. We are all over the country. We use multiple services or softwares, however you want to word that. We use batch leads, and that is excellent because we do all of our marketing through batch services, which is the batchleads.io. You can see our promo codes rolling along the bottom of the screen there. We also use Batch Dialer and Batch Driven, all phenomenal products. We use them in different ways, but the fantastic thing about comping, which is what we're here for today right now, is that Batch's comping tool is very powerful and it's right there. So we also use PropStream to comp in many different places, as well as Propelio. So I'll be looking at your comps on those different tools and showing you how we go nationwide and get data and information so that we can run numbers appropriately and look at it through, the scope of accurate listing prices after repairs. So after repair values. So I'm very excited to be here. Thank you to my new first-time viewer, Mr. Michael Hopkins. If you've got anything, I am happy to comp it for you, live and in action. Happy Thanksgiving, my love, Kristen. So good to see you. Kip, good to see you, fam. I'm glad you're here. Happy Thanksgiving. And Mr. Brown himself, I am going to start going right into principles, looking to learn about how you pin as is value and best practices for rehab cost in different markets. Sure, absolutely. I tend to look at rehab. The queen is live. Yes, I am, and I'm here for it. I haven't gone so much in. I think we're on episode 7 or 8, and I haven't gone into evaluating numbers and rehab costs so much on this show as of yet. And it is absolutely something that I am very open to doing. One of the reasons I haven't dug into this, just so you guys know, is because, obviously I've wanted to showcase how we pull comps, right? And how we evaluate those as is and after repair properties without going into too much information. So I want you guys to understand, I'm throwing a preliminary number on it, right? So it depends on the price point we're aiming for, not necessarily the as is price point, but the after repair price point in that market, and what kind of product we're going to have to put out is how I determine what I guesstimate. And it's a very educated guess. I've flipped a ton of properties all over the country. I've comped property. I mean, when you're talking about thousands of deals that we've actually done as a company, versus how many deals, we've taken down and flipped, taken down and been a landlord on, or even wholesaled, right? It's a whole different ballpark when you start talking about how many properties I've comped, how many markets I've evaluated. And it's insane. It feels like, it's exponential. I, have been looking at real estate all over this country for many years, and I do it all day, most days of my life. I love it, and I'm very passionate about it. So, I haven't really dug into that yet, and I look forward to digging into it because, I want to go in with an understanding of what that information is. And then obviously, my viewers have to take that and, get even more information and nip and tuck it, right? So a really good example of this that I will use is that we had a viewer a couple of weeks ago. I was having technical issues, sadly, and my thing kept freezing, right? So he messaged me, I believe on Facebook Messenger, and he said, "Hey, will you comp this lot for me?" The lot was in New Orleans. And I said, "Yeah, absolutely. Let me comp that for you really fast." And the comps were pretty difficult, right? I had reason to believe, it could sell on the market for, I believe, 30 to 35,000, right? But I had a couple of comps that looked the exact same that were right around 5,000. And the actual lot tax assessed value on the lot in and of itself was somewhere around like 3,500. And so coming from my scope with the information that I had, I'm going, I don't really know that I would want to purchase this for more than 5 to 10 grand, right? Is there a chance that it could sell for 30 to 35 grand? Absolutely. Especially on the market. And if you're purchasing it for 5 to 10 grand, is that worth it? Right. And it was in just like a residential neighborhood, and I wasn't seeing like a lot of new builds. I didn't quite have enough of that data, right, to feel confident in saying you'll be secure at a higher price. And then he told me that he actually purchased the lot for $15,000 and turned around and sold it fairly quickly for, I believe, 30 grand. He's an experienced investor locally there. And so he was just curious as to, how I would, view the numbers, and if I could pull up information that he couldn't necessarily see or whatever, or what my thoughts were on it, which is fantastic. That is what I'm here for. However, it's not a perfect system until you keep digging in further and further and further. And that's also how it is on, rehab numbers and after repair values and things like that. And especially in New Orleans, real estate can change block to block if you're in like New Orleans, you know what I mean? And so you really got to dig in there. And especially when it comes to lots, like it is a little bit more challenging. So it's not necessarily a perfect system when it comes to you don't have a ton of data. I'm going to always err on the side of caution. But when you do have, especially because I don't 100% know what the cost of building would be, so that's another thing that I would look up. Somebody is going to buy this. That's going to be a builder. They're going to build a house on it. I don't know what the cost of building stuff is. And you can look at the comps in and of themselves that are new builds in the area. But again, New Orleans can change from block to block. So that was my reason for leaning to the way more conservative side. I would rather err on the side of conservative and say maybe 5 to 10 and be wrong than overpaying and being wrong. So, or overestimating and being wrong. So that's just kind of one of the reasons that, I I kind of got to, when I start to dive into rehab numbers and analysis and things like that, I have to be, cognizant of, my initial thoughts versus there's layers to this thing, right? If I'm looking at purchasing a property, I'm going to run initial numbers. I'm going to see if we're within a frame. And then it's going to go through another verification process once we have a better grasp on exactly the work that needs to be done. Your rehab budget can jump up and down 10 grand very quickly. Then you're going into what are your closing costs? What are your holding costs? Things like that. So that's the same thing with rehab. So we put very general numbers on it. And, it's the same thing as, one flipper's contractor might come back at 37 and the other one might come back at 47, So it's just those things. And so we do put very general numbers on them. And I'm happy to go into them with you because I really do love analyzing properties. And I definitely want it to be, understood that when I do, I'm putting a general safe assessment on it as to what do I think the numbers are going to look like. They're not final numbers necessarily. So, all right. I've got some really good friends and fam up in here. I'm very excited reading through the comments. We've got, he says, is Robert Blaine single? Asking for a friend in the office. Robert Blaine is my biggest fan, and I'm pretty sure even if he was single, he's kind of obsessed with me. So might not be your best target. Is your friend you, Kip? Do you have a crush on Mr. Blaine? Guy Hodges. Oh, yes. We're so happy to have you here, Guy. Happy Thanksgivings. I love it. Robert Blaine is a lone wolf. Cute. All right. So should we develop a cost per square foot for cost of repairs when looking at homes? Like good rehab is 23 per square foot, bad 56 per square foot, worse 100 per square foot. I hope I'm making sense. You are absolutely making sense. And people do really like to do this. And I do think that you're the perfect example to say this to because, that changes per market. What you can pay for materials in Fort Worth, Texas looks very, very different than what you can pay in materials in Hawaii on Oahu. There's different costs associated with getting certain materials over there. So, and that's even the case on the mainland, right? So, it depends on what market you're looking in. And again, what price point you're looking in. I'm very comfortable on like a normal flip in, certain markets that are, pretty cookie cutter, newer house saying, I could remodel this $25 per square foot by just making everything clean and updated and knowing I can keep the tile floor or something like that, So it just really depends. I don't really love to put the category of good, bad, and worst as far as rehab numbers go, because I believe that changes not just per market, but I believe it changes per price point per market. So the finishes needing to be more of a luxury finish and a higher price point is going to cost you a lot more than like $45 or $55 a square foot, but usually in most median price points, you're going to land in most markets somewhere between, 25 to 55 a square foot. So you could reasonably say, but again, your construction knowledge, like, are you drastically changing anything? Do you have to refinish the pool? Do you have to, reconvert the garage back? So you have to think about those structural costs. Do you have to replace the roof? And that's why people ask a lot of those questions as far as, what are the major systems, right? So if I have to replace any of the major systems, the roof, if I have to work on the foundation, we just got a foundation back for a flip here in North Richland Hills that was $8,250. And It has a pier and beam house, and it needs um, it needs foundation work throughout, but it has a slab addition that's, I think, about 400 square feet, maybe 300 square feet. And there are foundation problems on that back part. It's got a rotting deck. I think that's the reason why that back part with the slab is having some foundation issues and some water retention there that shouldn't technically be happening as quickly as it is. And so, you've got to consider those major systems: roof, foundation, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and what those costs look like. Especially depends on where you're located, the age of the home, those major systems, are they intact? And if you're having to dig into any of those major systems or change any of the structure of the home, having a good general number to tack on top of that per market. A pool might cost $10,000 to refinish, right? A roof may cost, anywhere from, 6 to 20 grand on a lot of these homes, depending on what kind of roof you're dealing with and how big it is. Having that construction background, being a general contractor before we were actually in this industry, has been, a vital piece to our success coming out of the gates when it came to being flippers, landlords, wholesalers. When we started getting into investing in and of itself, that is, I think, one of the things that really made it possible for us to, succeed out of the gates. We've had plenty of learning experiences along the way. So this is a really important part. And so just kind of, I say all of that because I don't like to over-educate to the point where people get analysis paralysis or they become worried that their numbers are going to be so off. And so I like to run numbers in that general area. But I also want you to use your brain and look at the house, even if you don't have like a construction background, even if you're not a flipper, because I know, Callie, you are new at this, right? So you're here trying to learn and get information on those types of things. And I want you to, go into it with a reasonable education, but also, don't stop yourself because you're worried about being $5, or a couple grand off on a rehab assessment when you're running your preliminary numbers, when you're analyzing a property, right? And actually, if you're looking to do it in Hawaii, which I believe you're coming to the mainland too, in Hawaii especially, comps are actually really, 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 really vital to there. You have to be very cognizant of not pulling comps wrong in Hawaii versus like a neighborhood in Fort Worth, Texas. You should have reasonable comps right around you. DFW is where I learned to pull comps, and it wasn't until I started going nationwide and comping in these other markets that I realized it can get more complicated, because for me it was always pretty easy to pull comps in DFW, but you run into other things when you're in other markets where you have more eclectic neighborhoods and things like that. All right. You've wholesaled too. Challenging but doable. Yeah, I mean, for us, it's a matter of, I would love to remodel every home in America, right? I'd love to hold every property that I can hold and rent out or seller finance or whatever in America, right? I'd do them all. But realistically, we're not going to build a team that big. So yeah, we wholesale quite a bit of properties because we can't buy them all, and our marketing is on point with batch. Robert Blaine, the man, the myth, the legend. That is right. Oh, my honeys. Hey, Lori, good to see you. Kip, thank you. That's going to go to my Starbucks fund, as you well know. Keep me energized. I'll get a good coffee before I start drinking mimosas with my mom and aunt tomorrow morning. Generic dynamic cost per square foot to analyze rehab costs, 22 to 25 for cosmetic updates in Florida, unless you're digging into, a higher price point in Florida. Absolutely. Yeah, the median market, a typical home, absolutely. Those numbers right there. I would lean more towards 25. It's hard to get anything done for $22 a square foot these days. The cost of materials has kind of gone up nationwide over the past, year and a half, with the economy kind of adjusting to some things. So, oh my gosh, you guys, I hope he is still on here. Mr. Ian Floyd. Once a rebel, always a rebel. That is right, my dear. Mr. Floyd is he is one of my teachers in this life, and it's very interesting. We've got some exciting things coming up as a business that had me reflecting, and this is a total side note, nation, so you're just going to be patient if you're here just for me to go rad into comps. But it's interesting, Mr. Floyd, I thought about you literally a couple of days ago, because I was just practicing some gratitude about where our business is and where our business is going, and I'm not getting emotional. It's Thanksgiving. I'm allowed to practice thanks and gratitude. I was just thinking about how grateful I am, and how there's so many wonderful people who have poured into me as a human being and in my life, or have been influential in, my path, my journey, whatever you want to call that. And it had me thinking about, my younger formative years, and, the people that have influenced me, my parents and my teachers. And, there's still so many things that are a part of the foundation of who I am to this day. And literally, Mr. Floyd, you guys, I hope he's still watching, and he didn't just come in here to say once a rebel, always a rebel, because that was my school mascot. And I hope he's still watching, because we should all give him a round of applause. He is one of the influential people in my lives. I will never forget, till the day that I die, my first day of high school, this man stands on his desks and he's walking. He's given us like the intro to this classroom, and he's given us this speech, and he's walking on these desks, and in my head I literally thought, I'm gonna love it here. And he was my art teacher. And for those of you who don't know, if you're new here, or you didn't know this about me, you haven't been following me on any of the platforms, I've been an artist since I was a very little kid. I still actually create art all of the time. I get to put those skills that I've learned since I was a child into my work all of the time, and it's something that brings me great joy. I'm painting a huge backdrop of all things titanium that I've been working on for forever, because I do keep my life very busy, but I'm very excited. I wanted to finish it by the end of the year. I don't know that that's going to happen, hopefully. But yeah, I've definitely, I'm very passionate about art and all of the arts, realistically. But for me, I went to school to be an art teacher, and to say that, I had two art teachers who were very influential on me, and Mr. Floyd is one of them. So he's a part of my journey for sure. California prices are triple the market. California is booming. Thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you so much. What a big gift. That is so many cups of coffee for this girl, and I will keep showing up for you, and you can ask all the questions you want. That's what I'm here for, and I really appreciate that. That's very, very kind. Ayo, what's up? Thanks. I love your profile picture. All right. So we've got a property right here to comp. It's our first one. I think we're all in a chatty mood today in the chats. I love you, Mr. McFeely. Is my very good friend and fam, Randy McFeely here. I love you. Happy Thanksgiving. Give Mama Linda a big hug for me, as well as your babies and grandbabies. I love you guys and miss you guys. So Thank you. Oh, I'm so glad you're still watching. He says, I still walk on the desks, which this could not make me happier. You should always walk on the desks as long as you can walk on the desk. Another thing about Mr. Floyd, for those of you who are not followers of mine, he's actually also the golf coach at my school. And he was a part of why I still golf. My dad wanted me. I'm very into sports, and I played basketball and softball, and at one point I ran out of time. Shocking for those of you that know me. I like a lot of things. I'm a very versatile person, and I really I love sports and all the arts and education, and I love history and science and English and all of that stuff. Like I love all the subjects. Realistically, I did not like, of all subjects, did not like geometry. I don't know why. You would think I would like it as an artist, but I didn't. But I'm very much studious as an individual, and I love sports. And so we have a golf tournament every year, and like I still play golf. You know what I'm saying? So when it goes back to talking about like the foundation of who I am and the people that have influenced that, that was another thing. Great teachers like really make like they're one of the most underrated professions out there. And when my brother passed away, I changed my major when I went back to school to be an art teacher, because it was, understanding that, great teachers might be underrated, but, great teachers really make a difference in this world. You know what I'm saying? And even when, they're not dealing with like a student, I wouldn't claim, I didn't have a rough childhood. I wasn't a student in need, but the influence that my great teachers have had in my life, they fuel something in you. They push you to be your best, and Mr. Floyd was always one of those teachers, and he kept it fun, but he also appealed to my personality because he can be intense as well, which that's me. I can be fun and jovial and serious, and I like to push myself. I have a lot of drive, and I can also be very intense. And so it was just a great teacher for me. And I love that you still walk on the desk, like very much so. All right. So that being said, I'm very happy that you're here watching, even though you probably don't have a whole lot of interest in in me comping real estate nationwide. I greatly appreciate your support. It means a ton to me. All right, I'm gonna go back to the 2 comps that I have on here, guys, and I'll keep an eye out as I'm comping for us to for any additional ones that you add in the chats. 1 1 3 6 2 old kings jacks. I just want to make sure I get them written down right, and I'm absolutely here for any of your other questions outside of direct comps. I'm here for it. Assuming that you do mobile home comps, I found these do well if they can be wholesale. That's a really cool comp for you to be entering in on here. So actually, I'm going to do that one first while I've got your additional commentary up there. So mobile homes is a huge mixed bag for me. And I'll kind of dig into why, right? Nationwide, mobile homes are very different. So for example, if you are here in Texas and it's, oh, hi, there's a picture of Titus. If you are here in Texas and you have a mobile home that's in a mobile home park, you have a lot of times a hard time finding data on it, right? If you have a mobile home that is on land that is owned and it comes with land, it's something I'm going to be way more interested in looking in. And that goes for a lot of places. So mobile homes are a little bit of a mixed bag for me when it comes to what I can and can't comp, but I'm here and I'm up for challenges. So, just looking to verify that I get the right one here. We're gonna go with, we can go back and go to both of them. And I initially just start to look the bottom address. Man, I've got good instincts, don't I? That's the one I chose. So good. Because I didn't see a difference in the addresses. So I just go in, I look at the initial property details that I can get off of the information. Market total value. So right here, I see that it's on the land. Total assessed value per tax. It's a homestead. Okay. So I pop open the comps, and the first thing that I always like to do is try to see if I can't see any photos that are existing. And 3.2, 1216 square feet. Lot size is about an acre and a half, built 2000. So that's also very important in mobile homes, the age of the actual mobile home. Mobile homes depreciate much more rapidly than other types of homes. So sometimes I like to look at them as a buy and hold. As you mentioned, Michael, you definitely find that in like your location, it's easier if they can be wholetailed. So climate probably has a little bit to do with that as well. Let's see. Do we buy off-market properties? How about on market that has a lot of distress but listed with a realtor? I'm going to pop back on screen to answer that question. If the numbers are right, we buy property. I mean, we do. Absolutely. It really depends on the exit strategy and the location as to, so for example, in Florida, if I'm doing a quick flip, I don't care if it's listed with a realtor. I'm a realtor here in Texas. And we buy properties and everything like that. And we list properties. I'll list a distressed property. I view it the same way as like, I don't have a problem purchasing a property if it's the right numbers, but it's got to be the right numbers, right? So I assume that you're asking this because this is active. Definitely a buy and hold or wholesale, depending on the physical condition. Absolutely. Also, sometimes, like, look, if a mobile home is listed, if you give me a mobile home and it's $5,000, I don't care if I've got to go completely remodel the thing, but it depends on if it's going to be able. I'm going to get back on camera again. I'm just going to keep popping in and out of here. It's the day before Thanksgiving. We can deal with my ADD today, okay? We'll just let my personality take over. But it's important to me that it's financeable if I'm flipping a mobile home. End of discussion. So if I have a mobile home and I can get it for $5,000 and slap 20 grand into it and sell it for 45, that makes more sense to me than trying to sell a $130,000 mobile home that's not going to be able to be financed because it's too old, even though I just flipped it. Make sense? So mobile homes work a little bit differently. And caveat, I'm not the most experienced in them. Again, like I remember, so I lived in Ohio until I was 11, and they have like they're almost like retirement communities where they have manufactured homes. They don't look like this manufactured home, for example. Like they're sought after. They're, whereas like here in Texas, it's a really mixed bag. Like it's a really mixed bag. And that was my introduction into mobile homes. And it wasn't until like, moving somewhere where it's like Tornado Alley, right? Like when I moved to Texas, I was 11, and you start hearing about how they're not necessarily the best in a high wind situation or tornado situation or whatever. You start getting into real estate, you realize you might not be able to get financing on this thing, or things like that are where the mobile home application makes sense. And so land value comes into play really big for me when I'm assessing a mobile home. Rent rate comes into play really big for me when I'm assessing a mobile home, So it stands to reason. I mean, in Florida, like, they're dealing with some climate things as well. So the mobile home market is probably very similar. All right. Yes. Regarding lenders, I only sell to cash buyers. Well, what I mean with that is, right. So if you're wholesaling the property, or you're buying it and wholesaling it, and you're still selling to cash buyers, and I'm more referring to the cash buyer that's going to have to either flip or hold it as a rental. You know what I'm saying? Land value and rent. Yes, I do know a thing or two. I've been doing this for a minute. I did not dub myself the comp queen. That was a name given to me. One of our friends said that they were going to start deeming themselves different forms of like monarchy, like just like making fun of me as if I like started calling myself that. I was just like, people just call you a queen when you're a female and you're good at stuff. It was a name given to me. All right, so I've got this pulled up here on Batch as well as PropStream here. I'm gonna go ahead and just see if we get anything really fast, because I've got 2 comps so far to pull for you guys. So without as many people submitting, I'm assuming a lot of my regular followers are going to rewatch this and might be already in holiday mode. We've been running into a couple of unexpected errors with pulling comps in certain places in Propelio because they're restructuring their broker relationship, I believe. So I believe it's a temporary thing. I don't think it's a software thing, if that makes sense. I'm assuming that, again, since this is listed as active, that's where your question came from. We've got it listed at 115. Okay. So one of the things that I'm seeing right here is we've got residential only clicked, and we've got, I don't know if it has the mobile home, and I think it pulls it to the top of the list. So it doesn't even state whether but this is a mobile home. So we're going to dig into that. I'm not loving the fact that I see this is listed for 115. And I need to go kind of figure in some more information, because I am not seeing much on Batch as far as comps go, and I'm a little bit used to that. So I'm going to adjust my filters just a little bit. With them being bigger lots, it stands to reason that this looks like a more rural area, so we can go out a little bit further to find our comps. When you see that you've only got a couple of comps pulled up, right, that have sold within the last 12 months, you might say, let's hit that up at 24 months. Let's expand our perimeter a little bit and hit that filter and see if anything else pops up. And you might start to see things popping up in this little neighborhood. Well, they might just be like normal. See, they might just be normal homes, right? So you might click on property types and click that mobile manufactured home button right there and see what happens on your filters. Did it really? Yeah. So we have a little bit more to dig into here on Batch. When you come in and you start to do that and adjust the filters, I just want to see what you guys see this look like. For a long time, I really liked pulling comps on PropStream, because when it came to these not like quick and easy 2-minute comps, because you have more factors to consider. What? Oh, give me just a second. I gotta write this down. PALA Street. All right, you're gonna test my skills in saying Hawaiian words. Yeah, we'll see how well Elijah's taught me on one of these comps here in a minute. So sorry, excuse the interruption. I wanted to make sure that that comp didn't get buried in the comments thread. So as I was saying, you get to go a little bit further into detail. Now, Batch has this. One of the things I'm going to ask them if they'll do in the next upgrade is allow me to enter in the square footage in and of itself, because I like to do this, and you don't have that option, and I'm just used to it. I may or may not get my request, but for a long time, when they first came out as a product, you couldn't just click mobile homes, right? Which you can now, and that's one of the reasons I always loved PropStream in the beginning, right? Is because I could go on there, I could see all of this information, and I could select whether it was a commercial property or mobile home only, or what have you. So that being said, we're going to automatically make sure that we're disqualifying anything that's not a mobile home here. But I don't hate looking at these right out of the gates. And here's the reason why, you guys. I don't hate looking at comps that aren't comps. And the reason for that is because it tells you about the real estate market there, right? I talk about this a lot, and I think sometimes it's lost on people. When you understand what a market can substantiate, when you understand the top of the market homes, and you understand where the money is, it's an economic principle that applies to understanding what that market can produce that will have demand, right? So when I'm looking at these, and when I tell you guys I go out broader, I do that because I am comping nationwide. I don't just inherently necessarily have that knowledge of that market, specifically in, where is this? Oh, this is in Jacksonville. In this part, I mean, we've done several deals in Jacksonville, and I still don't have that great of a grasp on the market. And a lot of people who virtually flip and wholesale, they get a lot of heck from locals or people who don't do that, because they are still holding on to the principle that you need to be there and understand the market and blah, blah, blah. You can still apply market principles by understanding market data to that area. I mentioned earlier, New Orleans can change from block to block. So it's going to take me longer to comp something in New Orleans because I want to go get as much information as possible versus it taking me to comp a property like in my backyard where I know the real estate, like, because I'm in it and I see it every day. You can still do the information and gather the information. So that's one of the reasons I want you guys to understand. That's why I go broad. I don't hear a lot of other people talking about this kind of stuff when they're talking about comps. But look, guys, I'm not going away tomorrow when it comes to this show. It's not going to just be rinse and repeat. I'm going to teach you the things that are in my brain that I apply when I'm looking at this stuff. So I do go broad. I do initially look at these other single family residences. This is all within half of a mile of our house. And this can sustain a this brought somebody with $315,000 to spend to this area. That tells me something about the market. That tells me like this home was worth that. I mean, this isn't anything extraordinary. that tells me that this isn't a horrible, horrible, horrible neighborhood or, things like that. So I understand what's going on around me, right? I'm understanding the market. Now, I don't have I'm not going to use that as a comp for my mobile home, right? But it tells me about my neighborhood. I'm guessing that there's a value. Oh, my Atlanta. Look at that. It tells me about the value of the lot size here. Somebody may want to buy this property to build on, if it's attracting high enough values. The area, they might not want to keep a 22 almost year old mobile home. They might want to purchase it and slap some land on it. So we'll look into the land value. Dagnabbit. Mobile home. There we go. All right. So you can see when I went and filtered the property type, what it took out. Okay. So these are all mobile homes that have sold within the past year, within a mile. I took out that square footage requirement because, again, I'm going broad. I want to understand what we can demand. I do not have a build year in here, right? So I look at all of those things not because I don't consider them, but because, again, I want to see what a difference it makes in my comps. I then go select the most likely comps, minimally 3, preferably 6 comps, because I want to look at this as to what an appraiser is going to evaluate this as. I'm not always spot on, but you want to comp it like an appraiser would comp it, right? So, want to become famous. I will not, no, I will not buy followers. I want followers to follow me because they like me and I help them. Exactly. I'm virtual. Interpreting data is the thing. Developing local relationships. Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's been another one of the great benefits to us is that we have, through the years, my fantastic partner has, been doing a podcast, and we network and speak at events, and we're very into what we do, and we've had the great opportunity over the years to meet fantastic investors, be it at events and educational things, speaking events, masterminds. We've met incredible people all over the country, and happily have a ton of people and a ton of markets, that we've created great relationships with. So it is a huge benefit. It's absolutely a huge benefit. Okay. So going back to this, I love, let me rephrase that. I love what I'm seeing here. Okay. One of the big things that we're going to pay attention to are these build years. Ours is like the newest of all the comps within a year, within a mile. Okay. So I don't really need to filter out that data necessarily over here. I want to see if it's making a huge difference. This is really interesting that on this particular road, okay, think about it. I say it all the time. If you're reading the data, you're looking for consistencies in the data. The 2000 build year, that's fantastic. But the only ones that have sold in the 200s were on the same road. That's going to make me want to really dig into that before I slap, it's a great price because these sold for 200. You got to actually analyze the data you're pulling up here, guys. Okay. So there's a $10,000 price difference in these, most likely because this one had one more bath and one more bedroom. They were built the same year. This one would have probably gotten more credit for the bath and bedroom if it had, but it has 20,000 square feet less of land as well. So you can see the difference in the price per square foot. This is exactly why I don't 100% go just off of price per square foot, because it's not the only thing that is considered. And a lot of people make that mistake. They say, I got an average price per square foot and slapped it on there. It makes sense. No, it doesn't. You actually have to consider more things than price per square foot. You also have a lot more square footage here, a lot more square footage. So that's something I would dig into and try to figure out why these were so much more valuable than anything else that has sold on the market. It's got to have something to do with the location, I assume. And then we have $115,000. What's interesting is Batch pulled up an active on this, but I don't have an active pulling up on PropStream. So what I will often do is I often go straight to the street view and check out my immediate neighborhood, see who my neighbors are. Are these somebody that's, man, is this someone that's, got a commercial lot, a graveyard? Aha. This is not what I pulled up on tax records. This is not what we're comping. This only says it's 7,700. What is that? How many acres is 72 or whatever it says? It's not even an acre and a half. Maybe a little more than an acre and a half. 1.659 acres. And the listing is selling as 5.51 acres. That is the ticket. This will sell to somebody who will subdivide that and sell off the other acres for sure. For sure. That's the reason for the justification of the asking price. It's 5.5 acres here. So I'm going to probably assume before we dig in a little bit more that that's a very good asking price for this property, for this piece of property, if it is the 5 acres. I mean, look at this. You sell this off one at a time, right? You keep this one, build a house on it, whatever. Your asking price is drastically different. You can make money. Like if I'm purchasing this and I want to build on this land right here, right? And I don't really want these other acres. I'm selling these off to pay for my land and my house. Done deal. You know what I mean? So, yeah, absolutely. Guessing from looking at what I've seen on the comps already that this is a very good asking price for this property. Even if you just go off of, this is saying this was 1.6 acres, right? And the market land value for it says 37. So what we would end up doing, and why this takes a little bit longer for something like this, is because now I need to really go see what like acre lots are selling for. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, smash the like button. I really appreciate that. We want all the likes. All the likes. So yeah, this is where the comp you end up digging into it more. This is showing an estimated value. We're comping other properties on land that is right around that acres. Okay, so this one, for example, is much less. An acre, not even an acre. This one is on an acre. This is a little more than an acre. These are much less than an acre, selling in the 80s. This is a lot of land that sold for 40,000, which is odd. So those are things that I would sit there and dig into. So really fast, I know that this is a 2-2, less square footage on less land, and is older and sold for 80,000. Okay. I just want to see what kind of condition it was in, what we're looking like appeal wise. Not already going to be in the best. Not too bad on the inside. Got some outdated stuff, but it's clean. Use a little TLC and some updating, but this is what sold for 80,000. We're adding making it 90, maybe a little bit more. I mean, we got so much more land on ours. Especially when you realize that they're selling additional lots. So if you're just comping that much acreage, I'm going to say, if we were doing just the mobile home, we're a solid 120 right off the cuff right there. When you add so much more for the land in and of itself, maybe not per acre, but if you just do the math per square foot on the land itself, it would raise that substantially more. Then, we have an additional 200 square foot almost. We have additional bedroom. Yeah, I mean that's an easy 120, right? So we have the same bedrooms, same bathrooms, less square footage, way more land. And I believe we're also much newer on this one. And this sold for 124. So this is pretty clean looking. And I would expand this, but this looks to have been remodeled, sold for 124. So absolutely, that's going to be my bottom dollar for this. And that's not even including a value on the additional acres. Right? We are looking at so much more value here. But this has been on the market for 218 days. Ouch. We got some wetlands. Got to figure out how much of it is wetlands because that makes a huge difference. I also don't like that it's not showing me photos. What kind of condition are we dealing with? How much of this land is buildable makes a huge difference. But I'm guessing, like, even if you could divide it in half, we just need to comp. Instead of comping the mobile home, let's comp some land. We'll do residential and vacant land. Let's click off of the mobile home so I can just take those out of there really fast. This is an order of distance right here. So the first one I'm really looking at, I'm not feeling very confident in that, in these numbers. Let's try to do it over here. Huh. Am I searching in the wrong place? Sometimes this confuses me. Or maybe they still don't have vacant land. Oh, there it is. I was searching in the wrong place. Let's hit that filter right there. See what we come up with. See, it's not really. Let's filter that down a little bit more so I have less options. Wonder, I'm not seeing just vacant land, right? See, what's interesting here is this pulled up all of the land value. And it says it was 1968 build, not a 2000 build. Interesting. So those are things that, honestly, Michael, you're going to have to get clarification on. You're going to want to pull up the county records. I would just directly ask the agent or seller, you know what I'm saying? because, I mean, like I said, this can easily be very valuable. I mean, you've got this one on Plummer Road, sold for $142. It's clean, but it needs some updating, you know? That's $142, a lot less land. Understanding how buildable it is, I think is important here with the additional acreage, how much that is actually valued. Some of these only have the one photo. So, I mean, I would say you've got a minimum of a 142 value, and it's not pulling any vacant land. This is so odd. Because I guarantee you that the vacant land comps that I pulled on PropStream are not accurate. And we're getting conflicting information with Bill Deer. Market land value. But again, all that land is not going to be valued the same because some of it's not buildable. Depending on your exit strategy. I mean, I would probably value it more if it's pretty. I could divide the thing down the middle, sell half of it, you know? But I think that, you know, minimally, like I said, even if you just assess it with the current value without including all the extra acreage, you're coming up with a lot more. But there's no way that this is accurate, so I'm just going to take that away and kind of go off of the most recent evaluations with the mobile homes, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't really have many more options outside of that. And I still think this is a reasonable list price. Obviously, it's off market. It's the adjacent property that's on the MLS. Yours is a different lot. Oh, so you don't get 5.5 acres. You just get well, why did it pull up? Is the same address? 11362. Well, that's nutty. Why would they have the same address? Did they sell part of their land? I didn't look at the ownership. It's not really that important for the show necessarily, but if you know, you know. It's off market. You have it under contract. 1.5 acres. Or the 1.6, whatever. Yeah, gotcha. Then yeah, I mean, I think that you stick to it. Again, an after repair value would at least be, I would be interested in going to the street view of these, but look at all the additional amenities you're seeing here. So you're saying it is for sure the 2000 build, which just makes me happier. I mean, these are your blueprint properties, obviously, but what is different about this road? That's what I need to know. Is it because you have a dinosaur playground in your backyard? Maybe. We don't know. People like what they like, man. So this seems a little bit less of a rural. It seems more like, I mean, they have sidewalks and, you know, paved driveways. It might have something to do with septic, well, plumbing. You never know. The infrastructure of the neighborhood when it comes to like mobile homes. It'd be interesting to look at the difference in the lot value. See here, we got, you know, a little more space and privacy, which I would only think would be a benefit to you. I really like this property. I think it's an easy, you know, God bless America. See, I really want to include these as comps. I really, really, really do. But you don't want to try to over improve a mobile home. When one of these things is not like the others, you just want to be careful and just slap in a number on there. So a lot of times, guys, with these comps here, you end up having to go dig in further and figure out what the difference is, right? So this one is got to be a typo. Oh no, sorry. It's not. It sold for 40,000 in this condition. So outdated. I wonder if it had like a problem. That's work that needs to be done. It's just really interesting to me that those two properties sold in the 200s. I don't want to consider them, to be honest with you. As much as I want to, I would not without figuring out why. They don't seem to be nicer. They've obviously got a different kind of infrastructure. We can look into the property details we can pull, but this would be one of those things, like if this is a local market to you, asking a market expert. I've got to be honest, like when you have two outliers, I would either go off of every comp but those, or understand you've got to figure out why. This is a good after repair. I don't see any of these other ones, but I can go out a little bit further. Since I've got the mobile home, you can shift it instead of being an order of distance. You can shift it to where you can look at the dollar amounts. I mean, you've got plenty of evidence to show you that you can get a lot more for a mobile home there, but you got to figure out why. Well, that one's clearly because it's got a lot of land. These are all the rest, like around an acre and a half or under. The build years aren't drastic, and yet you still have some of these because of the square footage selling higher, but you cap that square footage off when you're going out further. Cap it off at 1,500. You get a whole different barrel of monkeys. So, I mean, yeah, for me, I think like a whole remodel, we're dealing with only 1.5 acres. 0.82 1990 build. I like this comp, and I just don't think I saw it on PropStream. I want to look into this comp really fast, see what I think about it. See, again, we're in this 140s range. You don't have to be completely updated. It's just clean. It's got an extra bedroom, So you have to consider that. Again, you got a fireplace. I don't know what kind of condition we're dealing with 100% ours, but I'm coming up with 130 right here, doubling back to check the land and the square footage and the year built. Yeah. I mean, I do not hate that number. Oops. When I'm looking at it over here, I think you have a further comp definitely right there, but we have additional square footage. So that helps, or additional land, not square footage. I think that helps. I think that that's a good 130 consideration. You have you have enough data to say like a 130 if this is clean. It's off a dirt road, which is another layer. Was that a dirt road? I don't see that. In fact, my thoughts are it looks pretty clean on the outside, unless I'm mistaken. I am mistaken. Why? This looks like it's not the same comp. Doesn't it? Yeah, I need to understand what that is. This doesn't feel like it's off a dirt road. But I'm also looking at it now like, how the heck do you get to it? Is this the right property? So confused. So confused. But yeah, I mean, I think that regardless of what you tell me, there's a solid chance that that's a good number for it. 130 is conservative, but as a wholesale, you might not want to put too much effort into it. Okay, so this is our old other comp. All right, going on, moving forward. I am gonna comp in Hawaii. And I'm going to do this on PropStream, and I'm going to try it on batch because I'm not sure if I can comp there. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm glad that we landed at similar numbers because that just two heads is better than one, right? It's one of the things I love about when we had the idea for me to do this show. It's just we teach our students all of the time to use the hotline to verify their numbers, even when they're confident, verify their numbers. Two heads is better than one. This looks like an incredible Hawaii property here. So you got me kind of a little excited about this, right? So it looks like they listed this 3 weeks ago and it's contingent. But let's just assume that they didn't get a full price offer, I guess. This is a property I would have loved to take down and clean up in Hawaii for sure. This is a great little Hawaii property here. But it does look like somebody already has it under contract and it's contingent upon the sale of another property. So that may mean you may still be able to put an offer in. La ti da. Ba ba da ba. His home, I understand. Hidden gem, perfectly located in the heart of Kapolei, close to Kamakana Ali'i Shopping Center, schools, movie theaters, restaurants, and more. High ceilings create an open atmosphere that's excellent for entertaining with a little TLC and your creative ideas. This gem will shine like a diamond. Thank you, Michelle, for your listing description. We love it. Okay, so they listed this for $680. And I'll just quickly verify comps on this. So this gives me the automatic square footage range, half a mile. That's our preset defaults. Knowing Hawaii's market, I really only want to stick and see what my first 8 comps are looking to be right here. According to this map, I'll probably take an eyeball look at that 9, 10, 11, and 13. Probably not going to cross over into here unless it's literally the same subdivision. But I've got enough that's right around close to me within a reasonable square footage range to assume that those would be the numbers. Now, what you guys will see is interesting about Hawaii. You've got $880,000 and $680,000. I have to show this to Elijah later. It makes me so happy. This is all because of Elijah. He taught me how to pronounce Hawaiian words, and he's been over there so long that I don't ever actually know. Interesting side fact. We'll just talk about it for a minute since we only have a few properties to count. And it was so funny. The first time that we decided to, we'd done a couple of flips, I believe, on Oahu, and we were interested in kind of ramping up our volume over there. They went very well. We had a 6-figure profit on the one that we did right before that, I believe. Like, it was just it had been a really great experience flipping in Hawaii so far. We learned a lot in those first few projects, like the timeline with materials. That was just like a whole new ballpark for us. So all of that to say, we decided we're going to ramp up the volume. So we're going to start marketing, because we had really, I can't even remember how we had gotten the first 2. I know one was, or the first few, I guess I should say. In my head, I can only remember the addresses on 2 of them. I think it was actually 3 or 4. But I know one of them we got off an auction site. I think an agent brought us one of them as well. So we had been acquiring them at random. Like, we see the good deal, we see the numbers, we walk the property, we assess it, So we decided we're going to do direct to seller marketing. And so we dropped some mailers in Hawaii. And initially, they had been directed to a phone line that would eventually, get back to us, in the office. So RJ, myself, somebody else on our team would be answering these calls. And we sounded so like we're just talking like natural. And we immediately realized we had to explain to Elijah, we cannot take these phone calls. They know, like, our accents are very strong to them. And they're like, they're very concerned that we're not from there. They're like, who are you? I'm very concerned. It's just not common. And so they were like, And so it's so interesting to me that, like, because at that time, I didn't know how to pronounce these words. I would completely avoid even saying a street name, and these homeowners were not having it. They were not having it. They actually wanted to sell us to their houses, but they wanted to talk to somebody they could drive to, And so we had to have Elijah and at the time, some of the team that we had over there start answering the phone calls because we couldn't even pronounce the words correctly. So that's a proud moment for me, is that you're like, I pronounced them right. I've gotten better over the years. But I'm by no stretch perfect. I don't have a perfect pronunciation track record there. So this house has been completely decked out and flipped, and it's gorgeous. They did a great job here. And this is 880 at 91,1072. So this is 880. So that's a good after repair blueprint property. I like it. Let's see what the square footage is there. Bam. That is like a blue look. Comping easy in Hawaii makes me so happy. Look at that. It's a literal blueprint property. Completely flipped, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, the exact same square footage, tiny bit bigger lot, probably the exact same build year. Within a year. Look, blueprint property, baby. If that thing doesn't sell at 880, I don't know what will. So that's your after repair value. And I love it. Let's see, what do you say? Oh no, you need someone from here, someone they can trust. Someone here will give you more credibility. Let me be that partner for you guys. You know what? Elijah lives in Hawaii part-time. So that's why we even went over there. But that's so absolutely true. And we absolutely can do business together over there. We're here for it. We love it there. But yes, that is so true. They wanted somebody that they can trust. And you know what this is not me being in any way prejudicial or prejudice or whatever you want to call it. When you grow up and live and your generations of your family have lived on an island that's only that large, you have that experience and it's different. There are so many things that come with the Hawaiian culture, that come with being there, that they're skeptical and they're weary when someone comes to, there's a limited land, there's limited, they want to be able to deal with their neighbors. They like to keep it local, and I don't think that's a bad thing at all. But we absolutely had to be like Elijah, and he was laughing at us. He's like, oh yeah, absolutely. Like, they don't trust you. Like, they don't want to talk to you. They want to talk to me. They've adopted me into, I sound like I'm from here type of thing now. So they adopted him in, and he definitely had to speak for us. So, but yeah, we're very fortunate, because it would have been a waste of marketing dollars had we been answering the phones on that first Hawaii mailing campaign at first. They need to see a Hawaii number on the mail. Yeah, we did actually have a Hawaii number, but also when we dialed back, he still has an 808 number, and probably will forever and ever. He's back and forth from between here and Hawaii, but at the time he hadn't left that island in forever. All right, so we've got one more comp to pull today. Before I pop off of this particular one, I set that 880 price very quickly because it was a perfect blueprint property, but do also understand that that's pretty top of the market right there. We've got one right here on property 16. You might look into those just to verify, but that 880 is if you take your house and you turn it into that house, right? I'm not necessarily saying that their listing price was good for a flipper, but it might be for an owner occupant, and I would run numbers and stuff on that. But you also understand that there's comps on here that are in the 900s. They're within this square footage range, which isn't going to be too different. That just happened to be a perfect blueprint. If you had to get an appraisal on this, your appraisal might end up coming in a little bit lower. But it looks like to me this is going to be absorbed by the Hawaiian market. There's a limited inventory in ways there, especially properties that are flipped to that degree. So I just feel confident saying that in that neighborhood, you have the same situation and setup. You can always go and double check and make sure that you're not like on a corner lot and do the street view and all that jazzy stuff. But that's something I just skimmed over right there on the map initially, whereas maybe backing up, you might want to look a little bit more into it. Be harder to sell a house that's on a busier lane. But yeah, right out of the gates for me, that was very instinctual. 880 all day. 880, turn it into that, you're done ski. All right, we're going to do one more. Then I'm going to go talk to my team and tell them I love them and hug them around the neck and that I'm grateful for them, because I am, after I pull this comp. Now this one is in my hometown. It's my hometown, y'all. So we have very good evidence on this. We are probably going to filter this out a little bit tighter and stick to one of the principles that I haven't even gone over. I haven't even gone over this ever on this show. And this is one of the reasons I love comping right here, because this is a principle that applies definitely in the area that I grew up and where I learned how to comp. And I think it's super important. Sometimes you have different subdivisions and they might be very similar properties, and you still want to make sure that your data is consistent in both of those subdivisions. If you're not looking at the street view or the photos on every single stinking property, then you definitely want to make sure that you are close. Okay, so one of the things that I love about this is this is so easy for me to comp. This is actually 1.5 bathroom, 1,700 square feet. A remodel on this is gonna be a normal like 60 grand, 75 grand, because I know it has foundation issues. This would be my after repair value that I think with a $75,000 repair budget. I know that seems high, but I know some problems that this house has. And actually, Mr. Bates wanted me to pull this. Now, if we went with a different remodeling plan, that could be a whole different situation for us. You can justify in this neighborhood 285 ARV, but if you go with a different remodeling plan, you can realistically expect around 255 to 270 right there. And that's why I like to bring up some of these basic principles over and over and over again, right? Keeping in mind you're looking for that consistent data. So this is probably one he put up here for me so that I could kind of show off. I think we're good on Maple or in Texas. Let's just double check. Yeah. So this is our filters that are automatic. I am going to go ahead and put this 1500 to 1900 and filter it even more just to get some of that out. And boom. This only has a 1-car garage. That would be my blueprint. So what would I list this for? 290. 290. I'm guessing. We have more garage, but we don't have a pool. Completely remodeled. And they can always add a pool. 290, right? 280. What do we got? Wonder if that's solar lease. Not completely updated. Has a pool. I know we don't have a pool, guys, but I'm not negating those comps in my assessed listing price. Oh, what a dork. Do you see how many times I clicked that dang old thing? Oh, so funny. I just kept clicking. This is a 4, 2.5, a little bit more square footage. Some outdated stuff. Still a comp. You know, my average is right there. I mean, I think with a fully rehab property, there's absolutely no reason. Multiple offers, blah, blah, blah. Also know this neighborhood, just so y'all know. Okay, I'm just going to show you a little funny thing, right? Here's our subject property. Here is literally where I grew up. This is my childhood home right there. So it's a hop, skip, and jump down the road. And then I'll show you over here is where my dad grew up, right here. So if that tells you anything about how much I know real estate in this area. But yeah, you're looking for the consistent data. I'm not aiming for 300s on this. And the reason why is like I just don't ever try to aim to be the most. I aim to have the most beautiful property when I do a flip, but I'm not trying to aim to sell. I don't run my numbers and I don't run my offers based on trying to sell it for an extremely high price compared to what anything else is sold for. You know, this has a pool, but this outdoor living space is actually really important in Texas. I know that our subject property doesn't have that. I know I didn't show that to y'all, but I just know it. And so it's like, I know that this one over here isn't a comp, even though you would almost think it was, but it's a 2021 build. Okay. So I'm not trying to remodel a house when I've got sufficient data to tell me, look, I saw a 1,300 square foot home sell at 280 when I didn't, when I hadn't narrowed my comps there. I have several blueprint properties, even though a couple of those have pools. They were also outdated. I've pulled comps on this multiple times, but that just kind of shows you the different features and how the different softwares work. But key principle being, like, you want to find that blueprint property. You want to make adjustments that an appraiser is going to make for square footage, a pool, garage space, outdoor living. They make adjustments for bedrooms and bathrooms, and whether home has been updated. And nobody has that exact formula. And knowing that you have to make, a $5,000 adjustment, or a pool's going to be worth $20,000 on the market in this neighborhood, or whatever that looks like, you can make additions and subtractions, and you can let that average out. So that pretty much concludes all my comps for today. I'm hopeful, and um, I hope that you guys have a beautiful holiday with your family, that you take rest and you get to time to reflect on your year, and that you have wonderful times um, thinking about what you're grateful for in your life and your business, and that is just full of good food and happiness. Um, I am going to go spend a little time with my team, telling them that I'm grateful for them, and I will be here for you next week. In the meantime, if you do have something that you drastically need me to lay eyes on and comp, I'm happy to do it for you. In the interim, if you follow me on social media, make sure you've given us a like here. It was a slower episode. I didn't have as many people on because probably everybody's already started getting in holiday mode. But I appreciate you guys that we're here. I thank you for your support, and I hope to continue to bring you value week after week. Thank you, Guy. I'm so grateful for you. The hotline number for our team, to be clear, Michael, that's for our students of our education program. So you're stuck with social media. Sorry, that's harsh, but yeah, you're gonna have to hit us up on social media. The hotline is designated as a hotline for our students. That way, we're able to delegate and prioritize for them. And I'll just be honest with you, if you message me on social media, they come before my instant messages. It is what it is. They're my fam. So anyways, but I'm here for it. You may just have a longer wait time before I respond and whatnot. So I think you all have a happy Turkey Day and happy holidays to you as well. We'll see you guys next week.